Attention bowlers, we are going to get started. Welcome back to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire for another thrilling Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. This is Sarah Wright at Craig Powers. The match format is 5 strings at 14 points up for grabs, 2 points for string, 4 for total pinfall with ties splitting points. Again, my name is Steve Kelly. I will be your host, narrator, and guide during this Class C North match between today's challengers. It is good as always to have you along with us, originally live streamed on Veterans Day, 11/11, November 11th, and available for any time rewatching anywhere, anytime, anyhow you'd like. This match is head-to-head tonight, and bear with me real quick while I just keep up with the head-to-head action. We have Craig Powers on the right and Sarah Wright on the left. That is confusing. And neither bowler on the head pin. Well, Sarah was on the head pin with the 5 and the 8. Craig Powers on the 1, the 2, the 9, and the 10. No mark for either bowler. Craig Powers opens up with an 8 box, and Sarah Wright opens up with a 9 box. So, folks, throughout the match, I will be describing the play-by-play action and providing up-to-the-minute scoring to the best of my ability. Keep an eye on the unofficial scoreboard on your screen. It is here for the benefit of the broadcast, while the bowlers maintain their own official book records separately. Scores may be subject to review or correction. I may occasionally pause to verify scores if we find things out of sync. I appreciate your patience when that happens. If you are watching this on YouTube later on, there may be times where I may include notes in the description where I catch scoring errors in post-production, so please be sure to check those out. So meanwhile, as that was Craig Powers on the head pin, the 4, 7, and 6 were on the deck. Sarah Wright punched out to the left with a half Worcester. So on the left, that's a half Worcester. That's if you punch out the 2 and the 8 or the 3 and the 9. Quarter Worcesters if you punch out just the 2 or the 3. Both of our bowlers are bowling head-to-head tonight, so they were bowling simultaneously. So it is head-to-head action, not normally seen in 1v1 matches, just double headers. Sarah Wright doesn't get the mark on the lane on the left. Craig Powers will take a 10 box. And Sarah Wright trying to clean up a 7-10-4. She'll take the 4 and leave the 7 to the 10, 4 and 8 box. Sarah Wright is currently at 17 after 2. Craig Powers is at 18 after 2. If you're new to the ACST or Candlepin bowling in general, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and hope you enjoy this match. If you are a returning viewer, of course, welcome back. Your continued viewership is greatly appreciated. That's Craig Powers on the nose. He drops 7. He's left with the 7, the 8, and the 4 on the deck. Sarah Wright is waiting on a lane reset, and she will throw her next pitch on lane 31 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Sarah Wright is the away bowler tonight. Craig Powers the home bowler. Sarah Wright's on the head pin with a split. That is the 5, 6, 10 for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers on the 4, 7, and 8. He leaves the 8. Sarah Wright, the 5, the 6, and the 10. She's shooting for a mark with a piece of wood in front, and she will take it. That's the first mark and first blood for the marks for Sarah Wright for either bowler. Craig Powers is shooting for a 10. He'll take a 9. That puts Sarah at an early advantage with 27 and a ball after 3 here in this first game of 5. Folks, if you like this content, I would encourage you to subscribe to this channel for more exciting matches, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. That's Craig Powers down on lane 32, and he drops 9. A quick 9. He leaves the 6 pin on the deck. Sarah Wright's on a spare fill, and she's on the head pin, and she drops 7 to fill that spare with 7. Both bowlers doing very well with the pinning action so far, and Craig Powers misses his spare on the single, leaves the 6. Sarah Wright, the 2, the 4, and the 5. She's going for the double spare, but she's just off a little bit. She leaves the 2 and the 4 on the deck. Craig Powers for the remedial, missed the second at the third, but he will gutter it out for a 9 box. That will put Craig Powers at 36 after 4. Sarah Wright so far 34 after 3, and with that 10 box, it will become 44 after 4. And I believe we might have a free moment to show you some stats. So here's Sarah Wright. This is Sarah Wright's second match of the season, so her stats are still a little bit early, so the numbers you see on the screen are still in active development, including tonight's match. That's Craig Powers just off the head pin a little bit. Sarah Wright, meanwhile, is also off to the head pin to the right. Both bowlers with interesting piles of pins for spare opportunities. Craig Powers a little light on the nose, leaves the 2, the 5, and the 7. 1, 2, 4, 6, 10 for Sarah Wright. She's off to the left. No mark for either of our bowlers. Craig Powers on lane 32 for the 10 box, and he'll take 8. He will check in with 8. And Sarah Wright will take one more out for a 7 box. That puts Sarah Wright at 51 after 5 and Craig Powers at 44 after 5. One mark for Sarah Wright. I have her as Sarah for some reason. There we go. So again, it is a head-to-head match tonight. Bowlers are bowling head-to-head as opposed to onesie-twosie. And Sarah Wright's just off a little bit. Craig Powers all the while punches straight out the middle for a spread eagle. Spread eagles are a situation where if you punch out the center, you leave the left and the right wings in some way. That is what we call in Candlepin a spread eagle. Sarah Wright for the spare, and she will get it. Nice light hit on the center, results in a spare. And Craig Powers attempts to convert the eagle for a spare, but he leaves the 3 and the 7. Craig Powers for a 10 box. And he will check 8 for 52 after 6. So here's the situation for Craig Powers tonight. He is 38 and 18 after 4 matches bowled so far. His season average is 100.15. His high 1 is 121. His high 5 is 535. 7 strikes, 29 spares, 41s, 10s for the season thus far. And he's not done yet. And Sarah Wright's just a little lit it off. But it will be a 6 fill. Craig Powers drops 7, leaving the 7, the 8, and the 10 on the deck. Sarah Wright just on a 3-pin and only the 3-pin. Craig Powers gets by, leaves the 10. Sarah Wright will take an 8 box. And Craig Powers appears to wave it off. It looks like it will be a 9 box after that foul. Sarah Wright. Craig Powers' score is correct, 61 after 7. Sarah is at 74 after 7. I will be double checking those scores in just a moment. Looks like she had a 6 box in the 5th. That might be the issue. Again, the on-stream score is unofficial. The one the bowlers maintain down there is the official copy, so I'm just keeping up with them. Neither bowler on the head pin this round. Sarah Wright will take a spare, and Craig Powers not so lucky. He's still working on a 10-box situation. 1, 5, 7, 8. Craig Powers will take a 7. I believe it's a 7. He has a 6 up there on the scoreboard up there. We'll see if he corrects that. I believe the bowlers are conversing about that right now. Sarah Wright is at 84 and a ball after 8. In sync back here and down there. Sarah Wright will be filling a spare right about now. Off she goes to the 1-2 pocket. She drops 7. And Craig Powers with a great head pin shot. Drops 9, leaves the 5 pin. Sarah Wright on the 3-6-10. Sarah Wright fires, and she leaves the 6 pin. Ball deflects just the wrong way. Craig Powers, though, will take his first mark of the match. He's at 78 in the ball after 9. Sarah Wright has crossed the 100 threshold in the 9th box. Will it be 101 with this 6 pin shot? It will be 100 with that 9. Sarah Wright 100. Craig Powers 78 in the ball in the 9th. Craig Powers needs to get more marks and good fills in order to maintain the pace that Sarah Wright is setting. Sarah Wright, the away bowler tonight. Sarah Wright 4 for 9 on the head pin tonight. Craig Powers 6 for 9 on the head pin. And Sarah Wright will lemon drop. That is a first ball punch out of the 4-6 pin. That's a $1 donation to Candlepins Per Cancer per every occurrence. That's a one-off. That's a one fill as well for Sarah Wright. Oops, excuse me. Actually, I might need to fix that real quick. Actually, the bowlers are doing score corrections themselves, so actually this is a great opportunity right now to catch up on everything, so stay tuned one moment. There we go. My apologies, folks. I got things a little bit crisscrossed. Again, the bowlers are bowling head-to-head tonight, so it's a little bit different than the usual setup. So anyway, Sarah Wright finishes with an 8 box, and Craig Powers will finish with a 91 with that 8 box. 108-291 is the confirmed score at the end of the first. Appreciate your patience on that. Every once in a while, we just need to pause for score corrections and the like. So Craig Powers at 91, Sarah Wright at 108. Sarah Wright will take 2 points and the first game. First game of 5. Sarah Wright 4 for 10 on the head pin with 2 splits. Craig Powers 6 for 10 on the head pin with 3 splits. And the bowlers are just taking a breather real quick in case you need to know how to read the scoreboard. We have a little box in the top left corner of the main screen. It is bowler initials with points, match total, and game total on each side with the leads and the difference in the leads in the center. And Sarah just had me confirm the scores, and it is confirmed, 108-91. Sarah Wright to Craig Powers. So real quick, we are just going to move on to the second game. And welcome to the second game. Or at least welcome to the second game in just a few moments here. Oop. So you're saying it was a 9 box instead of an 8 box? 92, 108 you're saying? Okay. Yeah. All right, after a brief, so we'll show you the scores once more, because actually there was one discovery that Craig Powers had 1 pin that apparently was shaved off somewhere, so just following the bowlers again. They were just reviewing and confirming their scores. Just took a couple of passes just to review everything, and I'm just sitting here all along for the ride. So Sarah Wright finishes 108 after 1, and Craig Powers finishes 92 after 1. Again, Sarah Wright with 3 spares in that first game. Craig Powers 1 spare. Anyways, I believe and I hope that should do it for game 1. We're going to be moving on to game 2 now. Bowlers stepping back up to the plates. Again, they chose to bowl head-to-head tonight. That's Sarah Wright on the left. That never gets old saying that. And that's Craig Powers on the right. Craig Powers, or Dr. Craig Powers, I might say, he has a PhD in chemical engineering from the University of Notre Dame. He was working on that from 2004 to 2010. Just call him Dr. Powers. He's a principal software developer at Aspen Technology in Bedford, Massachusetts. He's a pressure relief systems expert and software developer with 9 years' experience developing and maintaining software for calculating and recording pressure relief system audit information. He's also, for 5 years, been in the business of developing molecular modeling software. Craig Powers is on the head pin with a 7 drop. And Craig Powers will open with a spare. Sarah Wright punched out to the right and the 7 pin as well. There's no mark for Sarah Wright there. Craig Powers just waiting on Sarah Wright to finish her third box for a 10-box attempt. She's got the 1, the 2, the 5, the 6, and the 10. She'll punch. She'll follow up for a good out for a 9-box. At least I believe it's a 9-box, and I believe Sarah will be confirming that right now. She's just doing a score correction. These score systems at Leda Lanes are very good, but they're not always perfect. So every once in a while, there just needs to be a score correction now and then. And when you're doing a 2 to 3-way score validation, that's just why we occasionally get out of sync. Anyways, that's Craig Powers, not on the head pin, but with a decent fill. It's a 5 fill. Sarah Wright's off. She's off the head pin. The 1, the 3, the 6, the 7, the 9, and the 10 for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers has the 1, the 3, the 6, the 4, and the 7. And Craig Powers is on the pocket. It was a great spare bid. He almost took them all, but he left the 7 pin. Sarah Wright on the 1, the 3, the 6, the 7, the 9, and the 10. She punches the 3 and nothing else. Craig Powers is working on the 7 pin for a 10-box. And he'll take it for a 10-box. It's all about the pins. As I learned in the ICC Men's Candlepin World Tournament here at Leda Lanes just this past week. In case you missed it, check out Candlepin Bowling Network if you want to see a lot of the matches that were polled, including my team, which was Team Leda, a.k.a. Leda's Massholes. Check it out. I'm not biased or anything. Anyway, so let's talk about Sarah Wright for a little bit here. So she has a season record of 2-12. She's only bowled in away games so far. That's her only match this season so far, so she's playing a little bit catch-up. That's Craig Powers with a hammer and a strike on the head pin, and it all just worked out for him. Sarah Wright to the right of the head pin. She drops 6. She's left with the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 7. That's the left side 4 horsemen. Sarah Wright for the spare shot, and the ball tails to the right. So Sarah Wright's looking at a 6-box minimum, 10-box maximum. So far this season, it's only been one match, but Sarah Wright's average has been 98. Her high single, 119. High series, 490. And Sarah Wright will punch one more out for a 7-box. 23 after 3 for Sarah Wright, and Craig Powers is at 35 and a bonus after 3. Craig Powers already with 2 marks this game. Craig Powers, our home bowler tonight, putting up an impressive showing of pins so far. Craig Powers has bowled 4 matches and carries a positive season record of 38-18 with a home record of 14-14 and an away record of 24-4. His season average is 100.15 with a home average of 100.1 and an away average of 100.2. And that's Craig Powers. First ball of the bonus is a 6 drop. We'll assess the bonus total at the end of the next ball. Sarah Wright. It looks good. She drops 8. She's left with the 5 and the 8 pins on the deck. It looks like a good spare leave with that wood, and Craig Powers will take one more out for a 7 fill, and that will put him at 42 after 3. Sarah Wright, all the while, is looking at the 5 and the 8 pins. Sarah Wright trying to sweep, but the double buffered wood stops the second pin from falling as everything is deflected. Craig Powers cleaning up for a 10-box here, 7-box minimum. That 7 fill was a great start. He'll connect with the head pin a little too lightly for an 8-box. Sarah Wright now looking to take a 9 or a 10-box. And she'll take it for a 10. A lot of times when it comes to head-to-head competitions, and especially in the Candlepin World Championships, when you're bowling head-to-head, it's all about winning the box. And often, as my teammate Johnny Blaze told me, Often it's just about getting a decent differential between your opponents, and that can be as good as a mark if the gap is wide enough. Craig Powers drops 6, leaves the 4 horsemen left side. And Sarah Wright will take a strike. Late falling pin. Sarah Wright's at 43 after 5. Craig Powers misses 2 of the 4 horsemen, leaves the 1 of the 2 on the deck. Take 1 more out for a 9-box. And since we are at the halfway point of the second game, I'll give you a score update. In the total, Sarah Wright and Craig Powers are presently matched at 151 apiece, but Sarah Wright does have an open mark. In the game, Craig Powers leads by 16. Again, not yet counting Sarah Wright's open mark. Now the bowlers switch lanes, and Sarah Wright will lead off on a strike fill to the left of the head pin. Takes out a candlepin corner in the left side. Craig Powers on the head pin with an odd split array. 6 drop, 2, 5, 7, 8. Sarah Wright, second ball of the fill. It's going to be a 7 fill total. Craig Powers takes a few more and leaves 1 on the deck. No mark for Craig Powers. Sarah Wright on the head pin directly. Leaves the 2 and the 10 on the deck. That will be an 8-box for Sarah Wright. And that will be a 10-box for Craig Powers. And the score as it stands is Sarah Wright's at 58 after 6, and Craig Powers is at 69 after 6. In the total, we have Sarah Wright at +5 with 166 and Craig Powers at 161. Craig Powers leading in the game by 11 with a 69 over Sarah Wright's 58. Sarah Wright on the 1-3 pocket with a split 7 drop. And that is what we like to call the Matt Susi special for Craig Powers. That's the 5-7-10. It is a rather difficult split to convert, but apparently Matt Susi is very good at converting it. Sarah Wright doesn't get the mark. Craig Powers gets 2 of the 3. He takes the 5 and the 10, which is an achievement in its own right. But he can't quite take the 7. Sarah Wright will take the 10 for a 10. Craig Powers for a 9 or a 10 box, and he is just barely off the 7 pin for a 9 box for 78 after 7 for Craig Powers and 68 after 7 for Sarah Wright. The difference is 10 in the game. And in the match, Sarah Wright holds on to the total by 6, 176 to Craig Powers' 170. Sarah Wright with 68, and Craig Powers with 78 in the second game here. We have 3 boxes to go. And if we talk about some secondary stats, let's talk about Sarah Wright's 7 head pin shots for 17. And Craig Powers is 10 for 17 on the head pin. To give you an idea of the accuracy and the quarterback ratings, and Sarah Wright drops everything but 8. It's like an inverse half Worcester. She leaves the 3 and the 9. Craig Powers leaves a split. The 3, the 6, the 4, and the 10. Excuse me, the 3, the 4, the 6, and the 10, that is. Sarah Wright, it's a difficult shot to connect with the 3 and the 9. You have to either kick off the sidewall or punch full, and she can't quite do either. And Craig Powers misses his mark as well. Sarah Wright has the opportunity to win the box with a 10 box, assuming Craig Powers can't match. Sarah Wright will take a 9 box. Craig Powers working on a 6 through 10 box, and he will make a respectable bid for a 9 box. The difference is still 10, 87 to 77 in Craig Powers' favor. Sarah Wright again holding on to the total by 6. We haven't moved much in terms of the differentials. Both bowlers have 1 strike so far. Craig Powers 1 strike, Sarah Wright 1 strike. Sarah Wright has 3 spares. Craig Powers has 2 spares. Sarah Wright leads off. Leaves the right side check mark. And Craig Powers, he misses the head pin, but he drops 7. The 1, the 2, the 4 for Craig Powers. Sarah Wright has the right side check mark, which is the 3, the 5, the 6, and the 10 on the deck. Sarah Wright trying to take out the check mark, and she checks the check mark for a spare. And Craig Powers will match as well, not to be outdone. Both bowlers are neck and neck in this game, down to the marks even. 87 in a ball for Wright, 97 in a ball for Craig Powers. And that is confirmed as I look down at the automatic score system just to make sure we are in sync. Sarah Wright has been filling higher in fill totals, that is, 27 to Craig Powers' 17, averaging 5.4 per mark. Sarah Wright will take a few out. She missed the head pin. 5 fill for Sarah Wright, and for Craig Powers, he drops 8. Not on the head pin, but a decent fill. And it looks like, just pausing for a score correction, Sarah Wright is at 92 after 9. That is confirmed, and Craig Powers will check in with 105 and 9. That is confirmed. Sarah Wright can't get the next mark. She punches out 1. And Powers on the 1 and the 9. To see if he can get a mark, he punches out the back row and leaves the front head pin. Sarah Wright on the 1, the 2, the 6, and the 10. For a 10 box, 6 box minimum. Sarah will punch for 7 for 99. Craig Powers might have this. He does have this with that 9 box. And he'll check in with a 1. I believe it should be a 114, and they are, I believe, score correcting it right now. I will give you the update as soon as I have the official scores from them down there. Still waiting. And it is a confirmed 114, 299. We are in sync. So currently both bowlers have 2 points apiece, with Sarah Wright taking the first game and Craig Powers taking the second game. Sarah Wright in the second game with a 99 and Craig Powers in the second game with a 114. Flipping the script. And in terms of the fills, Sarah Wright has a slight edge with 32 total fill pins, averaging 6.4 per mark, but Craig Powers has almost the same average, 6.3, raking in 25 total fill pins. In terms of the head pin, Craig Powers is a little bit more on it than Sarah is, with 11 versus Sarah's 9 after 20 boxes. Craig Powers has a 55% head pin percentage completion rate, while Sarah Wright has 45. In terms of the splits, well, Craig Powers has been a little bit less lucky with that. He has 6 splits out of the 11 head pin shots, and Sarah Wright has 3 out of 9 in terms of splits compared to the head pin shots. Both bowlers with 1 strike. Sarah Wright has the edge in spares, 4 to Craig Powers' 3. And we are still just waiting on the bowlers as they just take a brief break here. And it is confirmed we are going to take just a brief time out here, so that actually gives me a little bit of time just to kind of give us some breathing room to talk more about stats and such, as it has been a head-to-head match, so it has been a little bit harder to kind of pause and get some words in here and there. So anyways, we'll talk about Sarah Wright. So for the season, again, she's only bowled 1 match. She has 0 strikes, 7 spares, and 16 tens with a 46% perfect box percentage. She is presently 3rd in C North Division 3 behind Craig Powers and Jacob Morrill, but she's ahead of Robert Melanson. Again, it's still roughly pretty early to call that in terms of who is ahead of whom. But we can talk about superlatives about Sarah Wright. She is the 29th high class average at the moment of 98, and she is the number 2 class average spare fill at 6.71. Most recently, Sarah Wright faced Jake Morrill in round 2. It was an away game. Sarah Wright took 2 points with a 490 series, with an 85, a 97, a 91, a 98, and a 119 with 0 strikes, 7 spares, and 16 tens. In the 2023-2024 season, Sarah Wright finished 2nd in Class D North Division 1. In that season, she averaged 101.22, and in the regular season, she finished at a season record of 156 and 96. She had the number 8 highest seasonal total pins, 9110, in the class. She was only one of 8 who cracked 9,000 pins in that class at that time. And her home lanes are here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. And of course, if you are familiar with the International Men's Candlepin Championships, you are no stranger to Leda Lanes. Again, it hosted the ICC Men's Worlds 2024. Many of your favorite bowlers were bowling in it, myself included. Leda Lanes was established in 1959. It has 36 lanes with 18 on each side, all wood approaches and all wood lanes. Great bar, Kegler's Den, food and drink available. Awesome White Russians, if I might recommend a particularly really awesome drink. They have a brand new automatic scoring system installed, Cubica AMF BES. In the olden times, it was also the home of WNDS Candlepin Stars and Strikes in its later years. And Leda Lanes offers a variety of entertainment beyond bowling, such as billiards, cornhole, poker, and karaoke. It's a great place to check out for family fun entertainment, or if you're a professional bowler or just a regular bowler, league bowler, tons of leagues at Leda Lanes. And check it out. It's on Amber Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. And real quick, we are still on a break, so it's time to talk about Craig Powers real quick. So Craig Powers, again, he has a season record of 38-18. He's bowled 4 matches so far this season, not counting this one. He has a high single of 121 and a high series of 535. He has 7 strikes, 29 spares, and 41 tens, not counting this match. He has a perfect box percentage of 38%. He has 2,003 seasonal total pins. Good year, good year. He has, in terms of the overall division standings, he leads Class C North Division 3. Again, it's still early. Same comments apply from when we were talking about Sarah Wright. He is ahead of Jake Morrill, Sarah Wright, and Rob Melanson in the overall division. So he's making an early pitch for the playoffs for sure. Greg Powers currently has the 26th highest class average at 100.15, and he has the number 4 class average spare fill at 6.48. Most recently, Craig Powers faced Richard Lerman in an away game, and it was technically round 5. He had a 520 series where he took 12 points with a 112, a 103, a 96, an 88, and a 121 with 3 strikes, 9 spares, and 4 tens. And again, I might mention Craig Powers. He has a PhD in chemical engineering from the University of Notre Dame. I bowled with Craig Powers in the 2022 Easter Classic. We shared a lane for the whole day. Craig Powers is an awesome bowler. He always is in great spirits. He's awesome to talk to. He does curling as well. According to Facebook, it appears that he is affiliated with Colonial Curling. If you were into regular bowling, or candlepin bowling in particular, and you just want to try something else that is kind of similar to bowling, I might recommend curling, because just looking at the photos, I mean, I can't really say much about actually playing the sport because I haven't done it myself, but curling sounds relatively close to bowling if you think about it in a couple of ways. Craig Powers' home house, both last season and this season, was Leda Lanes, and still is Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. He recently celebrated a birthday on November 6th, and I believe it is finally time for the next game, as our bowlers have finally returned to the approaches at Leda Lanes. So welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm Steve Kelly. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Class C North. It is Sarah Wright at Craig Powers. It's great to have you along. This is the start of the 3rd game of 5. Our 2 bowlers tonight are bowling head-to-head. And Craig Powers will lead off first on lane 32 at Leda Lanes, and he's off to the right of the headpin, but gets a decent mix. Takes an extra pin out for what he got. Sarah Wright's on the headpin with a split. Sarah Wright's got the 3, the 6, and the 4, I believe. Craig Powers misses his spare, leaves the 1 and the 3. Sarah Wright is on, well, I was about to say she was on the 3 pin, but the ball tailed at the very end. No mark for either bowler. Craig Powers also misses the 10 box attempt, so he will check in with 8 here in the 3rd game. And Sarah Wright, for a 7 box minimum, she will take 1 out for an 8. Both bowlers matching each other, 8-8 in the 3rd game. Sarah Wright leads in the total by 1, 215 to Craig Powers' 214, and they are tied in the game, needless to say, 8-8. This has been a very, very, very evenly distributed match so far, and it's very competitive. We like to see that in the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Competitive up to the minute action, and that's Craig Powers with a headpin shot and a 9 drop. Almost a hammer, but the 6 pin stays. Sarah Wright, same thing. Craig Powers for the spare, and he will check in with the spare. It is now up to Sarah Wright to match him. Both bowlers had the same first ball and the same leave. Sarah Wright on the 6 pin. Piece of wood across from it. Sarah Wright will also get it as well. Identical games so far. 18 in a ball for both bowlers, making my job really easy. Powers on the head pin. A little bit too full on the head pin with a 7 fill, but an interesting split of... Oh, it was a late falling 8, actually. Look away for a second and miss the action. Sarah Wright has what appears to be a 4 fill. Waiting on the score correction for that one. And we are confirmed, 22 and 26, respectively. Craig Powers for the double spare, and he will take the double spare. 36 and a bonus for Powers after 3. Sarah Wright with the right side washout. And she's left with 3 on the deck. No mark for Sarah Wright. This is where the mirror image boxes end. Wright has the 5, 9, 10 to deal with for a 10 box, 7 box minimum. Wright will take one more out for an 8 box. 30 after 3 for Wright. 36 in a ball for Powers. Craig Powers is starting to sway the total in his favor a little bit. 247 to 237. 242 to 237, a difference of 5. 2 boxes to go before we have reached the halftime of this match, and Craig Powers is directly on the head pin. Pin still falling. It's going to be a 9 fill for Craig Powers. Sarah Wright, all the while, she's on the head pin as well, but she drops 7. It's the 6, the 7, and the 10. Craig Powers is on what I believe is the 9 pin down there on lane 32, and he will take his 3rd mark in a row. If this were the WCVB Channel 5 show, that would be $50 in bonus money, 3 marks in a row. And Sarah Wright tries to get a bounce, but she can't quite convert the split into a spare. She leaves the 7 pin on the deck for a 9 box minimum and a 10 box maximum. Sarah Wright can get to 40 after 4 if she can take the 7 pin out with the help of the wood, and it looks like she will. Sarah Wright's at 40 after 4, and Craig Powers is at 55 and a bonus after 4. We are having a fantastic time at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, watching Sarah Wright challenge Craig Powers here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, and Craig Powers is on the head pin. And it almost looked like it was going to be a strike bid there for a little bit. Actually, it's a 9 fill. Pin fell late. So he has a 9 fill and possibly another spare bid here. Craig Powers on fire tonight. Sarah Wright drops 9, though, not to diminish that. Sarah Wright has the 10 pin to contend with as a single pin shot. Craig Powers is shooting at the 9 pin with a piece of wood across it. Very similar thing. That's his 4th mark in a row because he will get it. Sarah Wright's at the 10 pin, single pin shot. It is much more difficult than it looks. Single pin spares are not as easy as they look. And Sarah Wright will get it, though. I believe it stays on just enough to count as fair. Sarah Wright will take a spare for 50 and a bonus after 5. And while the bowlers switch lanes, let's assess everything at the half here at the exact halfway point in the match. Currently, Craig Powers is starting to pull away in the total, 280 to Sarah Wright's 257, a difference of 23 and a bonus. Of course, Sarah Wright also has a mark of a bonus. Currently, it is 74 to 50, both bowlers on marks. And back to the action here, resuming immediately. Sarah Wright on the fill of her spare, and she's to the left of the head pin. It's going to be a 5 fill. Craig Powers is on the head pin as well, and I believe he will take a 6 fill with that Verizon check mark on the right side. Sarah Wright just misses the head pin a little bit, so it won't be a mark for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers is working on his 5th mark in a row here. It's going to be the 5-6-3-10. Used to hit the 3-6 pocket just right, and that will be the end of the mark train for Craig Powers. He hits the 10 and only the 10. Sarah Wright on the 1, the 5, the 3, and the 9, and excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong bowler. Sarah Wright will take 3 more out for a 9 box. Again, when the bowlers crisscross lanes and swap head-to-head, when I look up to the scoreboard and down at the bowlers and at the lanes, it all gets a little bit confusing sometimes. So I appreciate your patience on that as always. So Craig Powers has been nearly lights out for the head pins this game in particular, and he's really come alive here. He has a 62% head pin completion percentage so far. Sarah Wright still holding on, though, with a 50% head pin completion percentage as well. But Powers is really charging ahead at 89 after 6. At least I believe so. Sarah Wright is at 65 after 6, but as I look up at the automatic score system that you can't see on your screen, it looks like things might just need to be adjusted on their part. I'm just waiting on that, and we'll confirm, and we'll let you know the second I have updates. Sarah Wright is confirmed at 64, and Powers is confirmed at 89. Yes, they just fixed both of those. All right, so we are all set. Sarah looked at me, and I looked at her, and we were both kind of like wincing a little bit. We're like, we have that, right? And I was like, yes, I believe we do. Always nice when that works out. Sarah Wright, to the left of the head pin, has some work to do on that next ball. Greg Powers is off to the left of the head pin just a little bit as well. He's left with, except I looked away for just a second to input the head pin and split data, and more pins fell. He's actually dropped everything but the head pin. It was going to be right side 4 horsemen, but additional pins fell. Sarah Wright on the 1-3 pocket, and will she take the spare? The 7 pin is touched. It was hit, but no dice. Craig Powers will nudge down the head pin for a spare. Sarah Wright on the 7 pin for a 10 box. Craig Powers is 5 for 7 on marks this game, and Sarah Wright will take a 9. Sarah Wright's at 73 after 7, and Powers is at 99 and a bonus after 7. Exciting action here. Stay with us for all the action as Sarah Wright and Craig Powers battle it out on the lanes in this ACST match at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, home of the International Candlepin Men's World Championship 2024, which just wrapped up this past week. Sarah Wright drops 7. Cluster of pins on the left, and it looks like it's going to be a 4 fill for Craig Powers. He wasn't on the head pin. Sarah Wright for the spare bid. She pokes 1 out and leaves 2. That's the thing about Candlepin. It doesn't always go your way. Craig Powers on lane 31 for the spare bid, and he'll take another spare. Craig Powers is dialed in. He is on it. He's currently at 113 and a ball after 8. Sarah Wright will take 8. This game has definitely been a pivotal moment for Craig Powers. He's come alive. Again, we are 8 boxes in, and he has 6 marks. He's at 113 and a ball for Dr. Powers. Sarah Wright working on an 81 after 8. But the totals, which were mostly even up to the start of this game, have really started to pull away in Craig Powers' favor, starting at the 3rd box, and Sarah Wright is on the head pin. It looks like it's going to be a 4-10 split, as Matt Susi tells Sarah to show him a shot. And Craig Powers, not to be outdone, and not even giving me a chance to breathe, has thrown, can you believe it, another strike. Craig Powers sits at 133 and a bonus after 9. Craig Powers is on fire right now. He is going supernova, if I might say so myself. He has thrown nearly a perfect game of marks, minus 2 boxes. And his lowest box has been an 8. Sarah Wright, no marks. She'll take a 9. Craig Powers has been lights out this game. The difference in this one game is 43, and the difference in the total is 42. And we're not done yet. It only goes to show that sometimes it can only take one game to really pull away and really make a difference in Candlepin bowling. Sarah Wright on lane 32. She fires. She needs to get something good here. She's to the left of the head pin. Powers on a strike. And he's just off the head pin, but it's a decent first ball of 6. Right side, 4 horsemen, 1-3-6-10. Sarah Wright for the spare bid. And she leaves the 5, and only the 5. So no mark for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers will far and away take this 3rd game. And Craig Powers is just off the head pin, so he will take a 9 fill and won't take a spare for the 10th. He's at 142 and potentially and he's at 151 at the moment. Sarah Wright will take a 9 box to finish with a 99. And 151 it will be for Craig Powers. That's a new high single for the season for him. Craig Powers finishes 151. Lights out on the marks. Minus 3 boxes. 7 for 10 on the marks. 17 for 30 on the head pin. 57% of those first balls have been head pin shots. Only 6 splits. Before he had more splits than Sarah, but Sarah started catching up in the splits. Sarah is still doing very well in terms of the head pin shots. She's at 15 for 30. That's a 50% head pin percentage. So it is not an impossibility for Sarah Wright to catch up, but Craig Powers has earned 2 more points here in the third game and is well on his way to making his claim to take the additional 4 points for the total at the end of the fifth. If he needs extra pins, this was the place to get them for sure. So Craig Powers mostly spares this game. He has 2 strikes and 9 spares, 3 games in. 3-game total of 357 for Craig Powers. Sarah Wright averaging over 100 herself, though. 3-game total of 306 with 1 strike and 6 spares. In terms of the fill totals, you got to look at this. Craig Powers has nearly doubled Sarah Wright's fill total, averaging 7.3 per mark, and Sarah Wright is at 5.9. 5.9 per mark, that is. So again, our bowlers are just taking a quick breather. We're in no rush. Bowling head-to-head can be definitely a exhilarating experience. So again, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. In case you're just joining us, I am Steve Kelly on the call in this Class C North match. And if you have just tuned in late and you want to know the recap, basically you have missed quite a heck of a game from Craig Powers, Dr. Powers, with a 357 3-game total. At the end of this stream, at the end of this match, we'll of course have the stream available on Facebook first, and then later on Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube, where I will upload the recording, where it may be a little bit higher quality than it is on Facebook, give or take. That's what we tend to notice. But anyways, we are moving on to the fourth game. The bowlers are ready to go. It's just I need to be ready to go. Here we go. Welcome to the fourth game. So it is a head-to-head match. The bowlers are bowling head-to-head, so we are moving at a breakneck pace tonight. We are starting the fourth game of 5. Craig Powers is looking to see if he can continue his insane mark streak that he put up in the third game. Craig Powers leads off to the right of the head pin. Has a cluster of pins to work with. Sarah Wright also to the right of the head pin. Both balls tailing off to the right. Craig Powers on the 1, the 5, the 2, the 7, the 8, and the 9, and he'll connect with everything but the head pin, so no mark for Craig Powers. Sarah Wright's got the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 7. She'll take 2, leave 2. No mark for either bowler. Craig Powers is shooting for a 9-box or a 10-box. He'll take a 9-box to start out. Sarah Wright, the 4, the 7 for a 10-box. Will be a 10-box. Sarah Wright wins the first box 10-9. Lead of Lanes features 36 lanes, 18 on each side of the house. I believe lanes 1 through 18 are actually from Winnipeg's Gate City Bowl, which used to be on the Daniel Webster Highway in Nashua, donated and transplanted to Lead of Lanes after the former alley closed. Craig Powers with a 7 drop, leaving the 1, the 3, and the 7. Sarah Wright with a split on the head pin, though. 4, 6, 3, 7, 10. Craig Powers for the spare, and he'll get it. That was a lovely spare by Craig Powers. The 1, the 3, and the 7 go down. And Sarah Wright will choose the right half. She was hoping 3 would take 2, but she only took 3. She's left with the 4 and the 7 on the deck for a 10-box. 10-box with wood, the 4 and the 7 on the left side of lane 31. Sarah Wright in the blue on lane 31. Looks like she'll take 1 out for a 9. 19 after 2 for Wright, and 19 in a ball after 2 for Craig Powers. The Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, or ACST, is a season of candlepin bowling among bowlers sorted into classes and divisions calculated based on total bowlers as well as averages of the bowlers. And that's Craig Powers on a fill, and it looks like it will be a late falling 8 fill. Not on the head pin, but still a great mix. Sarah Wright on the head pin again with nearly the same split as the last box, but just a mirror image. It's the 4, 6, 2, 7, 10 this time. Craig Powers on the 1, 2 for a split, not a split, for a spare leave, and he'll punch hard through the 1 and leave the 2. Sarah Wright hoping 3 will take 2, but she misses the 3. All 5 are still on the deck. No mark for either bowler. Craig Powers for a 9, and he'll take a 9 box. He's at 36 after 3. Sarah Wright looking to get something greater than a 5. And it will be a 7 box for Sarah Wright. 36 after 3 for Powers, and 26 after 3 for Wright, I believe. Waiting on the score correct on that one. Particularly Sarah Wright's second box is registered as an 8 up there. So for the moment, I will correct mine to match what they have. It is up to the bowlers to maintain that and stay on top of things. Craig Powers drops 9. Leaves the 4 pin. Sarah Wright drops 6 on the head pin, and yet another split once again. Craig Powers single pin on the 4. Will he get it? He will nudge it down for another spare. That's Craig Powers. That's Dr. Powers. Second spare of 4 boxes this game. And Sarah Wright can't quite get the mark. She leaves the 6 pin on the deck. She'll get a 9 or a 10 if she can take the 6. Or not take the 6. You know what I mean. Single pin, 6 pin with no wood for Sarah Wright for the 10 box. And she will take that 10 box for 35 after 4. That is confirmed. There is a maximum of 14 available points per match. The bowler whose cumulative total is the highest results in an additional 4 points awarded. A tie and a string will award each bowler 1 point. A tie and total pinfall results in 2 points for each bowler. Example, if you win the first, second, and third strings, lose the fourth and fifth, and win total, you receive 10 points of 14. That's Craig Powers with a 7 fill on the head pin once again, but a gnarly split is the 8, 9, 10. And Sarah Wright's on the head pin, and that's another spread eagle. We define the spread eagle as punching out the center, leaving the left and the right wings. And Craig Powers is trying to take out the 8, the 9, the 10. With a piece of wood in front of it, he'll take 2 and leave 1. No spare. Sarah Wright on the eagle. And she'll connect with the left side and leave the right side. No mark for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers for the 10 box. He will pin it out for a 10. He's at 63 after 5. That is confirmed. Sarah Wright on the right side, the 3, 6, 10. She'll take 2, leave 1 for a 9 box. That's 44 after 5 for Sarah Wright. And we are at the halfway point of the 4th game here. Sarah Wright currently 44 after 5, and Craig Powers at 63 after 5. Craig Powers currently in the driver's seat in the total, 420 to Sarah Wright's 350. Craig Powers up by 70 in the total. And in the game, Craig Powers leads by 19 in the 4th game with 5 boxes to go. You're watching the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour simulcast tonight on Facebook, on Candlepin Corner and Candlepin Bowling Network, and available later on Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. It's great to have you along with us. That's Sarah Wright to the left of the head pin. Bunch of pins to work out, and that's Craig Powers on the head pin. He's dropped 6. It is the 5, the 2, the 8, and the 10 on the deck. And Sarah Wright with an impressive spare. That was a pile of pins on the deck, and she took them all out. That's 54 in a ball after 6 for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers tries to match, but he leaves the 5 pin. And like I said, you know, it's never really over until it's truly over. And sometimes one mark can get you right back in it. That can get you right back on a tear of marks. That's Craig Powers with a 9 box. He's at 72 after 6. So some of the stats here. We have Sarah Wright at 19 headpin shots, 53% percentage. She's gaining on Craig Powers, who's currently 20 for 36 on the headpin with a 56 percentage. I've been watching that percentage gap slowly get slimmer and slimmer. In terms of the splits, again, Sarah Wright has been a bit less lucky with 10 splits to Powers' 8 out of 36 available boxes, and 19. Technically, a split counts only against a headpin shot, so I say less about the 36 boxes and more about Sarah Wright's 19 headpin shots and Craig Powers' 20 headpin shots. Sarah Wright, meanwhile, she's to the right of the headpin. She drops 5. That's the Cleary. We'll define the Cleary here. That's when you get the 4 horsemen left or right side and then one of the back row pins on the opposite side, named after Bob Cleary. Neither bowler on the head pin on their first ball. Sarah Wright can't convert the Cleary for a spare. Craig Powers had a 4 on his on his spare fill. Excuse me, that was a 5 technically. I think they're going to have to score correct that. I will preemptively mark it as a 5, but his second ball missed everything, so no mark. Sarah Wright, meanwhile, will clean up for a 10 box. And Craig Powers will finish for a 9. Excuse me, no. Sarah Wright had a 5 fill. My apologies. I was looking at the wrong lanes once again. When the bowlers swap lanes, it usually takes me a box or two just to get acclimated to that once again, especially if they're bowling head-to-head. Again, I always appreciate your patience on that. It's always flying by the seat of our pants at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Sarah Wright is off the headpin. She drops a few. Craig Powers is on the headpin with an interesting split. He drops 8. Craig Powers has the 5-7, the setback. And Sarah Wright, no mark, has some things to work out down there. Powers on the setback. He hits the 5 and leaves the 7. Sarah Wright, the 1, 3, 4, 7, 10 for a 10 box. 5 box minimum. She's on the headpin and she'll take 8. Sarah Wright is at a confirmed 77 after 8. Craig Powers will take a 9 box and he's at 90 after 8. And we are in sync with the automatic scoreboard. I thank you for your patience with that again. Technology be darned. Craig Powers currently leading in strikes, 2 to Sarah Wright's 1. Powers also with 11 spares to Sarah Wright's 7. In terms of the fills, Powers has 95 bonus pins. Sarah Wright has 46. Powers is averaging 7.3 per mark. Sarah Wright's averaging 5.8. And Sarah Wright punches out again with a spread eagle. A 3-pin spread eagle to be exact. And Craig Powers is on the headpin. He drops 7 with a split of his own. Again, spread eagle, you punch out the center. You leave the left and right wings. That's a spread eagle. Caw. Sarah Wright, the 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. She plays the right side and takes 2, but leaves everything else. Craig Powers has the 5, the 8, and the 10 on the deck that he's working on. And Dr. Powers will miss to the right in the right side gap. No mark for either bowler. Sarah Wright has a 5 box or higher she's working on here. She'll take 1 more out for a 6. Craig Powers on the 5, 8 leaves the 10 for a 9 box of his own. Sarah Wright's at 86 and 9, and Powers is at 96 in 9. I believe. Bear with me one moment. Yes, I think they may have to score correct that. I will give you an update at the end of the game if the bowlers sort that out. No, excuse me, I had it backwards. Again, I will get this right eventually. 83 and 99 is confirmed. Sarah Wright is 83 and 9. Craig Powers is 99 and 9. Sarah Wright has been getting a lot of splits, and she gets no mark here. Craig Powers drops 9, and he'll miss the single pin spare. In this match in particular, Sarah Wright's been putting up a wall of red in terms of the spares. Splits, that is. Sarah Wright will finish with an 8. And Powers will take a 10 box. He will miss the second and get the third, I might say, also. That is a Paul Grant special. You miss on the second ball and get it on the third. That's a $1 donation to Candlepins for Cancer per occurrence. Anyways, that is the end of the third game. And at the end of the third game, it is 91 for Sarah Wright and 109 for Craig Powers. In terms of the total, Craig Powers is currently at 466, up by 69 over Sarah Wright's 397. Craig Powers in the game at 109, up by 18 over Sarah Wright's 91. Currently, Craig Powers has 6 points to Sarah Wright's 2 after 4 games. The final game is worth 6 points. Yeah. Yep. Sarah's just fixing something on the paper copy. Had Craig's score off by 1, but she's correcting it to be indeed 109. That was just a arithmetic error, you know. These things happen from now and then. Anyways, so Craig Powers to continue. I forget where I left off, so we'll just repeat. So Craig Powers is at 466 after 4 games. Sarah Wright at 397 after 4 games. Craig Powers up by 69. And again, oh yes, so Craig Powers currently has 6 points after 4 games. Sarah Wright has 2 points. The 5th game is worth technically 6 points because that is the last chance to take the total and take 4 points for the total pinfall, as well as take 2 points for the 5th and final game. So Craig Powers stands to take a lot of points tonight. He could potentially go 12-2, but we'll see how Sarah Wright can put up the fight here in the 5th and final game here of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour in this Class C North match on November 11th, 11/11. Make a wish. This Veterans Day match at Leda Lanes. Also, to all of our veterans and those of service out there, we thank you for your service, of course, as always. I almost said Craig Sawyer. I don't know why. Craig Powers, Dr. Powers, to the right of the head pin with a left side Cleary. Cleary is when you take out all but the 4 horsemen left or right side and the opposite back row. And Sarah Wright's on the head pin with a 9 drop on the 5 pin. Or leaving the 5 pin, that is. And Craig Powers can't quite convert the Cleary for a spare. He'll leave the head pin. Sarah Wright has the 5 pin to deal with. That could be a single pin spare opportunity. And that was a great ball by Sarah Wright. That was a great spare. 10 in the ball after 1. Powers on lane 32 for a 10 box. He'll take a 9. Wright with 1 mark this game so far. 10 in the ball after 1 for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers at 9 after 1. Start of the 5th, the top of the 5th. 5th of 5. Powers on the head pin this time, correcting that first ball. Drops 7. Left side triangle, 4-5-2. And Sarah Wright's on the head pin. 1-3 pocket. She takes 6 for the fill, leaves the left side check mark. Craig Powers misses the triangle for the spare, so no mark for Powers. Takes no pins. Sarah Wright a little bit light on the check mark, leaves the 4 and the 7 on the deck. Powers will finish with 8. And Wright will finish with a 9. Currently, Sarah Wright's at 25 after 2, and Powers is at 17 after 2. So since we are in the 5th and final game, we'll talk about a couple things. We'll say a couple special thanks, particularly our ACST committee members, our ACST League Commissioner Danny Finn, our Class C Treasurer Anthony Caron, all of those folks who work behind the scenes. They make this move as smoothly as possible, as always. That's Craig Powers, not on the head pin, but drops 8, the 1 and the 9. Sarah Wright on the head pin with a split. Craig Powers on the head pin, but the pin and the ball deflects the wrong way to leave the 9, no mark for Powers. Sarah Wright, the 4-6-2-7-10. Sarah Wright sails through the center void where she already took pins out, so no mark for Sarah Wright. Powers for the 10 box. He will clean up for a 10. A great check-in for Craig Powers. 27 after 3. Sarah Wright will connect with the left side and leave the right for an 8 box. That's 33 after 3 for Sarah Wright. Sarah Wright so far ahead in the 5th game here. No marks for either bowler, aside from Sarah Wright in her first box with that spare and 6 fill, and that has been the difference thus far. But Sarah Wright really needs to put the pressure on Craig Powers and really put up a lot of marks and a lot of pins to retake the total and take the 5th game to even things out in terms of the point spectrum here. Craig Powers drops 8, split 7-9. Sarah Wright's currently waiting on some lane maintenance. Or, not lane maintenance, pin setter, rather. It was a pin load. The pins just had to load it into the tubes. That's why the gate sometimes comes down early. When the machine just isn't fully ready to go, it just pauses to load the pins, and then it continues on its way. Sarah Wright on lane 31, throwing her first ball. Fourth box, fifth game. On the headpin, that was a great ball. Definitely a great ball on paper. She drops 9, leaving the 6. Craig Powers misses everything wide right. Sarah Wright, 25 for 50 on the headpin tonight. Craig Powers also 25 for 44 on the headpin, that is. Craig Powers also 25 for 44 on the headpin. In terms of splits, Sarah Wright has 12, and Craig Powers has 11. So both bowlers really evening out in terms of the headpins and the splits tonight. And Sarah Wright with a spare. A single pin spare, she gets it. And that'll be a 9-box for Craig Powers. It's 43 in a ball for Wright and 36 after 4 for Powers. Take a look at the stats here for you. 11 spares for Powers and 9 spares for Wright. Powers with a monstrous third game. Again, if you came in late, go back to this later and watch the third game. Craig Powers with a 151. Powers, couple of updates here. That's a 2 fill for Sarah Wright, unfortunately. Left side half Worcester, and that's a split for Powers, 8 drop. And it's a half Worcester for Sarah Wright. So down there you see a half Worcester. If you punch out the 2 and the 8, or just the 3 and the 9 pins, that's called a half Worcester. A quarter Worcester is if you punch out just the 2 or the 3, if you are so unlucky to experience that. That term came from a Channel 5 TV roll-off from way back in the day when, that's a foul. That's going to be a -1 for Sarah Wright in the gutter. Pops out, takes the 10. That'll be -1 on the final total. And Craig Powers will check 9. Sarah Wright looking at a potential 2-box here. We don't want to see that. Sarah Wright, it won't be a 2-box. Great cleanup effort. It will be what I believe to be an 8-box for Sarah Wright. That should put her at 53 after 5, and that is confirmed. Powers is at 45 after 5. So let's assess the current situation at the halfway point of the final game. Sarah Wright is at 53 after 5, and Craig Powers is at 45 after 5. Sarah Wright up in the game by 8, but she's down in the total by 61. 4.5 game total of 450 for Sarah Wright, 4.5 game total of 511 for Craig Powers. So Sarah Wright has to not only have a 61 half, but also hope that Craig Powers really lays an egg here in the second half of the 5th game. He has been slowing down a bit, but again, it is hard to not only maintain pace with the other bowler, but also surpass them, especially when the total is down by so much. So Sarah Wright really needs to go lights out here, and my goodness, she definitely tried there, but she has a spread eagle on the headpin. Craig Powers, though, oh my goodness, that's another strike for Craig Powers. In terms of lights out, seems the opposite has really happened. Things have been really swaying in Craig Powers' favor. That's a strike for Craig Powers, 55 and a bonus in the 6th. Sarah Wright off to the left on the 7-pin and only the 7-pin. My goodness, that's frustrating. She had a spread eagle, and then there's not a whole lot you can do with that. I know I've been there. So I bowled in the men's worlds, and I bowled for the mass holes and Lita's mass holes, and in particular, we hit a bit of a wall in the playoffs when we faced Lucky Strike in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. And we were kind of maintaining as of the first game, but midway through the second game, Jeff Surratt throws a 4-bagger against us. And there really isn't a whole lot you can do when that happens and you're already just kind of struggling to maintain pace with the other team. So I definitely know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of a really potentially insurmountable lead. And after a while, it's tough. Candlepin bowling is a tough sport, folks. Anyways, that's a 7 fill so far for Craig Powers, but it is a split. The 3, the 8, and the 9 are on the deck. But Sarah Wright will make a spare out of what she got. So she's at 68 and a bonus after 7. Craig Powers to finish his strike fill. It will be 9. 64 after 6 for Powers. Total is still within 65 pins at the moment. And Craig Powers will check 10. 75 minus the bonus that Sarah Wright will enjoy with the spare here. 68 to 74, 68 in a ball for Sarah Wright, 74 for Powers at the 7th box here. Sarah Wright's next ball will determine the 7th box and her current 7th box total. Sarah Wright's on the 1-3 pocket and drops 7. Powers. He's off to the right of the head pin. He takes a few out. He's got the 1, the 2, the 5, the 7, the 9, the 10 to work with. Sarah Wright's got the 4, 5, 8 to try to convert for a spare. It's an inverted triangle, and she only takes the 5. Excuse me, only takes the 8. I'm sitting at an awkward angle. I can't always see the pins. But Craig Powers with a nice, really methodical spare. Sarah Wright will check 9. You know, Craig Powers, I would expect nothing less from someone with a PhD in chemical engineering, for sure. He knows the molecular structure of the pins and the balls and the material of the lanes and all of that, for sure. Dr. Powers putting up an impressive performance tonight. So Craig Powers, 84 and a ball after 8, and Sarah Wright's at 84 after 8. Sarah Wright will lead off. And she's on the headpin on the 1-2 pocket this time, dropping 8, leaving the 6 and the 9. Excuse me, the 9 pin falls late. And Craig Powers is on the headpin with a split. It's a 7 fill. It's the 6-7-4 for Craig Powers with some wood to help him, potentially. Sarah Wright just barely misses the single pin spare. Frustrated by that one. Trust me, I would be too. And Craig Powers can't quite convert the split for a spare. Sarah Wright is looking to get a 10 box out of this. And she will. She'll take a 10 box. So you know what that means. That is a miss the second, get the third. That is a Paul Grant special. And I believe that's going to be an 8 box for Craig Powers. I saw it go into the gutter and come out, so I'm pretty sure that that's going to end up being an 8 box. And it is going to be an 8 box. So, yep, that's a Paul Grant special for Sarah Wright. Sarah Wright's at 94 after 9. And Craig Powers, I keep wanting to say Craig Sawyer because I'm thinking of Greg Sawyer. Craig Powers is at 99 after 9. And Sarah Wright's final first ball. She's to the left of the head pin. Craig Powers is on the head pin, and oh my goodness, it's another strike. Craig Powers has had a banner night. 109 and a bonus for Craig Powers. He's at 575 and a bonus. Nearly 600 for Craig Powers tonight. He can get to 595 if he gets a triple strike. Sarah Wright misses the final mark. It's going to be a 5 or greater for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers is definitely going to take 12 points tonight, though. Sarah Wright will take a really impressive 10 box for what it was worth. She will finish at 104 after 10 for a 5-game total of 501. Craig Powers at 575 plus this next fill, 2-ball strike fill. Sarah Wright finished at 29 for 50 on the head pin with 13 out of 50 for splits, and Craig Powers was on the head pin, and he's got 6 so far, so it won't be a strike fill. It could be a potential 10 fill here. If he can make this split, tough split, 4-6-2-10. Sails through the middle, that will be a 6 fill total. That's 115 for Craig Powers. 5-game total of 581 for Craig Powers. 104 to 115 is what they got up there, and 104 to 115 is what I got down here. So yes, it'll be a 5-game total of 581 for Craig Powers, 501 for Sarah Wright. Craig Powers wins the total by 80. Yep. Sorry. You had 501. Yeah. Yep, sure is. Sorry about that. Just helping Sarah with some math on the score sheet there. I said, no, you had a 501, not a 500. Don't sell yourself short. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. So that is the end of the 5th game here. So assess the final stats here real quick. So Sarah Wright will take only 2 points tonight, unfortunately. She took the first game and nothing else. Craig Powers was lights out after game 1. You can see that just 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 4 points, all the way down. In terms of the marks and other stats, though, things are a lot more interesting, a lot more evenly matched. Aside from the strikes, Sarah Wright and Craig Powers were quite nearly even in terms of spares, 10 to 12 respectively. In terms of tens, Sarah Wright had 9 and Craig Powers had 7. In terms of average, though, Craig Powers pulled ahead with a 116 average, and Sarah Wright just averaged effectively exactly 100. In terms of the head pin, though, both bowlers did a great job. Craig Powers had 30 for 50 head pin shots, 60%. Sarah Wright went 29 for 50, which was a 58% head pin completion percentage. And they were almost even on splits, too, if you look at that. 13 splits for Sarah Wright and 14 splits for Craig Powers. So in terms of those stats, it really comes down to candlepin bowling. Sometimes it just comes down to the breaks you get, whether you get a split, whether you get lucky, whether you don't, whether the leaves will go, whether you have shots that should have gone that don't, or shouldn't have gone but do, but that usually is just how it is. In terms of the fills, though, Craig Powers did a great job filling the marks. 117 bonus points in terms of fills, averaging 7.3 per mark, and Sarah Wright totals 61, averaging 5.5 per mark. That's kind of the key difference there, really. And in terms of the points, as you know, Craig Powers will take 12 points today. He'll rise to 50 and 20. Sarah Wright will go to 4 and 24. Again, Sarah Wright is still catching up in terms of overall matches, so I'm sure we'll be seeing Sarah Wright many times in the coming weeks here. I know she has several matches coming up next week. I won't be able to cover those, but I'm sure other folks like Paul Grant will be able to bring those to you. But anyways, that should just about do it from us here at Leda Lanes tonight. I want you to check out a couple of things. If you thought this was a fun viewing experience and you want to see more, check out Candlepin Bowling Network and Candlepin Corner on YouTube. Or if you're into TikTok, check out at Candlepin Bowling on TikTok, and of course the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook. And we also have a bunch more stuff too. We have Candlepin Chat on Facebook. It's a group. It's where a lot of Candlepin bowling discussion and all kinds of things happen there. There's alleychat.net for the Friday Night Pro League stats and facts and figures and all that. They also have a YouTube channel. There's also classic Candlepin TV shows like Wolfman 12395 and the Candlepin Bowling channel on YouTube. If you're into podcasts, there's some of those too. There's Ripping the Rack, hosted by Tim Matero and Calvin Locke. So check that out on YouTube. And they're also on Facebook. There's also the Approach podcast. That's on Facebook. A couple of folks such as Tony Levesque and Charlie Collins host their own individual YouTube and TikTok pages respectively, so check them out too if you're so inclined. And also, this is a big one, folks. Check out candlepins4cancer.com, candlepins4cancer.com. Sign up for qualifying roll-offs or to donate. I'd appreciate it if you would. And the folks where this money goes to, as you know as well as I do, how much cancer affects folks' lives. It's a great cause. You can sign up for qualifying roll-offs, or if you don't care to bowl, you could just donate as well. It's something that we can all kind of get behind here. Anyways, and also, of course, if you feel like bowling, go to candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center if you don't know where to start. That's where I'd recommend you go. There's places all over the Northeast United States, and even as far over as Albany, New York. Anyways, that should be just about it from us here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. For Sarah Wright and Craig Powers, I've been Steve Kelly. It's been great calling this match for you tonight, and we'll see you at the next Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Have a great one, everybody.